What's good? What's good? I'm back. Yours truly, one and only Paul Pickett, host of the Paul Pickett Podcast, aka Triple P, aka the Common Sense Podcast, your source for music, sports, politics, world events, and much, much more. Today, I'm going to react to a video, Joe Rogan and somebody else talking about the company trying to clone the woolly mammoth. They've been watching too many Jurassic Park movies. But before we do that, let's give you a word from promopalace.biz.
Are you a musician looking for music marketing and promotion? Then look no further than Promo Palace LLC, your one-stop shop for all music promotion services. Services include Spotify playlist pitching, YouTube video promotion, record pool promotion, blog placements, radio airplay promotion, SoundCloud promotion, and much more. With over 2,000 customers and over 10 years of experience in online promotion, Promo Palace LLC is a company you can trust. For more info, please go to promopalace.biz. See you there.
You heard a beautiful lady. If you need online marketing promotions, check us out. Go to promopalace.biz, your one-stop shop for all marketing promotions for your music, product, brand, or your service. Let's get into it.
The Joe Rogan experience.
So I wanted to talk to you about this cloning and the rewilding of the mammoths and all of that stuff. I'm going to Colossal tomorrow to learn a little bit more about it myself.
Explain Colossal.
Yeah, so Colossal Biosciences is this, if you ask me, incredible company, and they are, by their own declaration, a de-extinction company. So it's this guy, Ben Lamb, and he's got George Church, who's a world-leading cellular scientist. I don't know the specifics, of de-extinction and cloning and CRISPR and so on and so forth. And they've come together and raised a ton of money, and they are de-extincting animals. And the science is there. Like, it's done. All it took was the money, basically, behind it. And they've put together this incredible Rolodex of scientists and people, and it's real-life Jurassic Park with purpose.
Where are they going to put them?
So there's a couple different things going on. So the first one they're working on is the woolly mammoth, right? And this isn't just for fun. This has real, important conservation implications, which is really fascinating. But they are planning on starting with, I think, 100 mammoths and putting them in this place called not Pleistocene Park, something like that. This park in Siberia that they've been doing this experiment on as to what happens when you add megafauna back into the Arctic tundra to offset carbon emissions.
Wow. And so they're using what DNA? They're using elephant DNA and mixing it with something else?
So it's Indian elephant is the closest living relative to the woolly mammoth.
And what does an Indian elephant look like? Is it similar to an elephant?
Yeah, it's a smaller. So African elephants are bigger. They have the really big ears.
Right.
Indian elephants are typically the ones you'd see at the circus, with the pink in the ears, the smaller triangular shaped ears. So just a different species of elephant. And so they're taking Indian elephants and they're using CRISPR technology and they're using existing mammoth DNA and they're making an embryo and then they're implanting it into the Indian elephant. And 22 months later, an Indian elephant's gestation period, she will give birth to a mammoth.
A real mammoth?
A real mammoth.
So it's not like a hybrid?
That's okay. That's a good point. So it is, in the sense of what they do is if you imagine the DNA of an animal, right? And then you imagine the fragments that are broken out of it, right? What they're doing is they're taking that DNA of and I don't understand the cellular side of it very well. This is just my base level understanding of it. I can talk about the conservation side of it, but they're taking that double helix, that DNA, and all those pieces that are missing from the mammoth, they're putting in Indian elephant pieces. So you end up with an animal that is physically and morphologically identical to a mammoth, but has used all of the DNA from the closest living relatives in order to get there.
Phew. Boy. And this process, how long does this take?
So I think they've been going for about 5 years on the science, but the science of de-extinction and cloning, I mean, you remember Dolly the sheep, right? That was like a known thing. So that's been going on for a long time.
Well, you can get your cat cloned.
Exactly.
Or your dog cloned.
Exactly. For like 20 grand, you can clone your dog. Yeah. So
it's kind of creepy.
It is. It's bizarre. But the point is the science has been there for a while. There just hasn't really been the funding or the motivation for it. But what I think so fascinating, the reason I'm so emotionally invested in it is the conservation implications that it has. Because what this company is ultimately doing is rewilding species that humans have removed. And that's going to, in theory, in a lot of places, sort of fix the offset, the imbalance of the ecosystem.
That's interesting.
In theory.
That's really
in
interesting.
theory.
There's a lot of debate about whether or not humans killed off the woolly mammoth, though, isn't there?
I think there is. Yeah, I think there is. And I can't really speak on that. But I do know that when the mammoths disappeared, so the Arctic used to be like the savannas of Africa. It used to be big grasslands, right? It wasn't all covered in trees and things. And that's a recent adaptation since the mammoths went away 10, 20,000 years ago. And so that's what's happened is the permafrost up there is melting pretty rapidly, right? Underneath that permafrost is like 1.5 trillion tons of carbon. And once that carbon enters the atmosphere, it heats things up like crazy. So by removing those mammoths, and I can explain why the mammoths keep it colder, but by removing those mammoths, it's allowing that permafrost to melt much quicker and release more carbon. So the idea from like a financial standpoint of how they make money is the carbon offset of putting mammoths back into the environment.
How do they make it colder?
So it's a couple different things. It's basically when there's trees and shrubs, they take in more heat, and that heat transfers into the ground. So in this Pleistocene park, this park that they've been doing this experiment in Siberia for a while, they've put in a couple hundred animals that aren't mammoths, right? They put in ox and reindeer and things like that, and they're knocking trees over with the tractors. And once they knock trees over and they simulate a mammoth knocking the trees and shrubs over, the fleet grazers are able to keep the vegetation from regrowing. So when the vegetation doesn't regrow, you get all this grassland, and the grassland has snowpack. The snowpack gets stomped, so there's no insulation. It reflects more light. It's like 3 or 4 different processes that make the ground, I think on average, it's like 8 degrees colder. So it keeps things more frozen. So once we removed all the megafauna from the Arctic through hunting or maybe other means, regardless, once they were removed, the Arctic got warmer. The Siberia and Alaska got warmer, and so slowly we're getting more and more carbon emissions from up there. But by putting these animals back, and I just love the idea of going up to the Arctic and it looking like the African savanna, right, with all of these incredible animals. But by putting these animals back, it in theory will make the Arctic colder, slow down the melting of the permafrost, which will in turn trap the carbon for longer in the ground.
In theory, there's a lot of things to unpack here. We are trying to Jurassic Park a woolly mammoth. How is this woolly mammoth going to know its natural purpose, its natural order in the ecosystem? How do we know that this is going to work? But this one thing I will say, this seems smarter and more realistic than what these climate change freaks and activists think. Like, they really think like we can really control the weather at this point. Now, I don't know. That's kind of a sense of trying to control the weather, but then again, it's not, because like they said, we might have killed off the woolly mammoth, and we probably killed off other species as well out of the ecosystem. You see what's going on in the ecosystem of the Florida Everglades when people released pet pythons. They just started killing all the wildlife and whatnot. If we're doing it for the purpose of trying to fix the ecosystems, like bring back these animals and bring some kind of natural order to the laws of nature, yeah, but long as we don't really start just trying to do it like it's, this is cool and sounds like a fun thing to do, and then we start, really trying to do dinosaurs like Jurassic Park or, some other kind of creature that might have went away that's predatory or whatnot. It's very interesting. It's very interesting. The thing about man, though, is if there's a will, there's a way. If it's an idea or thought, man is gonna try to do it. Some man is gonna try to do it, or a woman, for that matter. But I don't know. I got kind of mixed reviews on this. It's like most people say, "Oh, man's trying to play God." Well, I don't believe in God. I think man is trying to dictate the laws of nature and control the laws of nature a little too much. And the only thing that controls the laws of nature is nature itself, you know. But I mean, you could give it a shot. It might help. I don't know if it's gonna like. They're just talking about doing it in Siberia. What about like Antarctica or things of that nature? You know, can a woolly mammoth be in Antarctica or whatnot? Who knows? It's interesting to see what other try-to animals they're gonna. I know there's some kind of birds or something that win extinct, and it's probably all types of creatures that win extinct. But I almost think this is a little too much of man trying to play the creator, because something definitely created us, but I don't know if it has to be called a god or worshipped as a god or wanted to be called God or want to be worshipped as God or anything of that nature. I don't know that it looked at itself as superior and us inferior. And I think people's idea of what created us is the complete opposite of what really created us. It's probably more like this woolly mammoth thing that's going on. Like something created us kind of like this woolly mammoth. Maybe we were a species that was extinct or becoming extinct, and they decided to just take some DNA and go to another planet and recreate us, or and some people always said that we were a workforce for another alien life force out there. Who knows? But yeah, mankind, if it's a thought that comes up in any man's head, they're going to try to do it. Once again, I thank you for tuning in, Paul Pickett Podcast, and I'm out.